Get silence here.
Tell a joke.
Tell it, Joe.
Talk about our 40 years.
What?
Talk about the 40th.
I'll talk about it later on. First things first.
Can't rush.
John, you want me to do this?
Yeah, well there, we can start with you.
Oh.
Let's start with you.
Okay, I'm the program before the program. Anyway, my name is Richard Little. I'm a geologist. My career is at Greenfield Community College mostly, now retired, mostly, kind of. But you probably don't know about armored mud balls. Has anyone ever heard about armored mud balls? There's two people. Okay, these are rarer than dinosaur footprints, and actually they're one of the rarest geological features in the world. I didn't say they're terribly important, but they're neat. They're photogenic. They tell about an event along a stream back during the dinosaur times, and this stream the stream bank was undercutting hard mud. The mud fell into the stream, tumbled, got round, sticky on the outside, pebbles stuck into the outside, and that's what we call the armor. And the trick is to get them buried and preserved in the geological record, and then of course found by someone. And to tell you the truth about this, the Greenfield Community College display of these, they're from Greenfield or Gill or Turner's. That's the only place they're found, right along the Penford River. But they're found nowhere else in the world that you can easily see them. There are several other places where they have been found, but they're not really good examples. They're way up in the mountains or they're along rural seacoasts. And I've seen the pictures on some of them. They're not very impressive. These are very impressive. They've got beautiful armor. They've got a range of sizes from golf balls to basketballs. And you can see them. They're along the geology path at Greenfield Community College, which is the best place to see them. So here's what I'm trying to do. Since they are so rare, I'm trying to get the state of Massachusetts to make them one of the 50 state symbols that we have. You know, like the Boston cream donut, the Morgan horse, the Quincy granite. So there's a perfect place to put these things that are rare, only found in Massachusetts, really, in the whole world, easily seen, only here. And we should, kick this around so that people outside of Greenfield and Franklin County know about this. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to promote these. And if you'd like more information, I have a nice little postcard here which gives you a picture of them. You go to the website and learn all about them. You can even sign a petition. And that's what I'd like everybody to do. The Pascommuck Trust is an organizational supporter, and we thank you very much for that. My 30 seconds is now done. If anybody wants a postcard, they're also here on the end of the table, but I'll be glad to pass them out.
Richard, did you bring any mud balls? We should have a nice mud ball fight.
Yeah. These are lithified. They turn to stone. So, yeah.
That's okay. You got a hard head. To our 40th anniversary year, we've been around for 40 years, and I've been around almost 40 years myself with the trust. The trust began its stewardship in 1982, and I came on board maybe 84 or something like that. But I had been working with the volunteers before that. Our first land purchase was Old Pascommuck Conservation Trust on East Street, and that's still there, and we're still working it, and we've gone a long ways over the years, and we hope to go another 40 years at least. So without further ado, we'll introduce ourselves. I'm John Bader, the long-standing president, and we're ready to retire anytime. 23 years as president. And this is Diane.
Diane Clay. I'm the vice president, and I'm keeping John in his position for as long as I possibly can.
I'm Mary Lou Dodge. I'm the newest member, I think, since September. So lucky to be here.
Michael Carone, I'm a Old Trolley Line monitor, and I manage the website as well.
I'm Bonnie Goodwin. I've known a lot of you from being the volunteer coordinator.
My
My name's Kayla Champagne, and I'm also fairly new. I joined, I believe it was around June-ish. So I'm excited to be on board.
We do have a few missing members. We have a couple online here. Fred, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Fred Andreessen. I've been on for, I don't know, 9 years or so. And somehow I get roped into doing all the Zoom.
Thank you, Fred. And I'm Scott Thunderman. I'm also a reasonably new board member. I'm sitting here so I can play the slideshow when we get to that point.
We
Okay.
have a couple of
Yeah,
virtual
you
people.
can introduce the virtuals.
Yeah.
You would, right.
Hey Marty, can you say something? Hear us, Marty. Can you hear us? No problem.
Hey y'all, I'm Tom Lotzenheiser. Been a board member since 2003, I think. And I'm keeping my cold to myself.
And Marty, can you say something, Marty? You're going to be shown on my little screen if you were to say something.
You shine.
Boy, we haven't done enough of it.
No. You can't hear us. Tom can hear us, but Marty.
You'll have to introduce them, right?
Marty Klein is a. I'm going to introduce you, Marty. Can you hear me? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Marty Klein is our resident mushroom expert and nature walker and nature talker. And many of you may know him, so maybe I don't need to show his picture. He's been with us a long, long time too, right?
Yeah.
I suspect a lot of the photos in the slideshow are his.
Yes, and he's
They
got a
are.
slideshow. Right, and he put together a slideshow for us, which is a retrospective of our last 40 years, which we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. Woohoo! And, so we'll see that a little later, before the break.
And then there's Rachel.
Oh, Rachel. Rachel, can you say something? Can you hear us?
No.
How come Tom could hear us?
Oh, well.
While we're looking for Rachel, there's two people not here tonight or aren't virtual either. Sue Walsh, who I know a lot of you know, she's been with us for a long time, and Don Ackley, who's also been with us for a long time.
Okay, so
And Rachel is our treasurer, fairly recent, I think, year, Sheila, she's been a great addition to the board.
yes, sir. Okay, I'll give you a little summary of the agenda tonight, so you know what we're doing. We're going to have the treasurer's report, which is a summary of the income and expenses for 2021, and hopefully a comparison with 2020, maybe. Well, I'm not sure. Clerk's report is the summary of the previous year's annual meeting minutes. And Dawn Ackley is our clerk, and she's not here today, so we're gonna. Somebody's gonna have to. Molly's gonna do that in a minute, and then I'll do my president's report, which includes a summary of major projects and activities for 2021 and goals for this year. Then we're going to have a board members reelection. These are for members of the board whose terms are up this year and want to be reelected. And we have 4 people this year. It's myself, Molly, Scott, and Sue Waltz, who is not here today. Then we'll have an open discussion, questions, suggestions, special business, bring up anything you want. And then we'll have a refreshment break, and then we're going to have our guest speaker, Tom Riccardi, demonstration on birds of prey. Nice to see you again, Tom. We had him here years ago, and well, it's always a popular show. Just watch out for the birds flying over around and they might scratch you. Okay, treasurer's report is, we don't have the treasurer's report.
Oh, it's emailed to you.
Huh?
She emailed it. So maybe I'll want
Well,
maybe you can pull it up now. Marty, can you hear okay? So how's the sound? Is it picking up now? No?
yeah, Molly can do the clerk's report. Don's not here. So Molly?
So these are Don's notes from last year's virtual annual meeting on March 23rd. And the board members were Rachel Tilliskin, am I saying that right? Michael Crum, Diane McLean, Sue Walls, me, John Bader, Shirley Smith, Bill Berger. Oh, Bill is another member who's not here tonight, I'm sorry. Tom Lotzenheiser, Fred Anderson, Don Ackley, and Marty Klein. And Garrett Stover was also here, along with 10 guests from the public. And the treasurer's report, Rachel compiled the report and emailed it around. It was also sent as an attachment to the Zoom meeting invite. A motion was made from the floor to accept and seconded, and all were in favor. The clerk's report, Don read a brief version of the 2019 annual meeting, as there was no annual meeting in 2020 due to the global pandemic. A motion was made from the floor to accept the report, seconded, and passed. The president's report, John emailed around the report and read it at the Zoom meeting. At the time, Shirley, Sue, Tom, and Rachel were all nominated for renewal. Scott at that time was thinking about joining the board. Suzette Jones wanted to speak about the potential development proposed for Reservation Road. Garrett addressed this and will post information in the chat about who can be contacted about this. Danelle Carbo, if I said that right, spoke about the Reservation Road Alliance and praised the board for always being supportive. Scott Tunderman asked if it is possible for the trust to purchase the property to protect it. Garrett and John responded about the high cost of the land. Roz asked about the location of the plant sale, and a discussion was held about alternate locations. And the main presentation was a refuge in hard times, an inspirational and beautiful slideshow created by Garrett. Many trust members contributed photos and quotes, and it was adjourned at 8:18.
Okay, any questions about the minutes? Do we have a nomination?
Accept the minutes.
Then I'll let later in the meeting.
Right?
Second?
Second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, passed. Zoe, all in favor? Where you going? Can I go?
What are you trying to do?
All right, so let's get into the main meeting here of the meeting. Actually, it's the president's report, which is broken up into two parts. The first part is the activities and projects for 2021, and the second part are the goals for this year, 2022. So under fundraising, grants and donations, we had a spring and plant sale. Both were successful, even though we had some COVID restrictions. We hold it at the municipal building parking lot now. We used to hold it at Big E's, but that kind of too tight for us. And so we got a new place. Memorial Bench fundraiser, we've got Garrett Stover, our former board member, is organizing this. Anyone who wants to buy a memorial bench can do so. It's a little expensive, I don't know, a couple thousand, something like that. But it's a fundraiser, so it's for good cause. And
Had several already.
yeah, well, we've got 4 in place, and we've got a couple more going, yeah. And we send out our membership renewal letters out in January. And we are participating with Kestrel Land Trust, April 22nd, for the Give Back to the Land fundraiser. It's a yearly fundraiser online. And hopefully this is going to bring in finally some much needed funds for the trust. And board member Kayla Champagne submitted a donation request to Easthampton Savings Bank and Hopetown Financial Group for maintenance costs, and we did get that money, right? So thank you very much, Kayla. Yeah. By the way, Kayla works at the bank. Funny business. Public relations and outreach. We had one newsletter. They're always welcome and they're always well received. Virtual annual meeting. It was okay last year, but nothing like a real meeting in my book. And, just cramps my style. And Garrett Stover presented a slideshow on our properties, which is well received. The Trust Annual High School Scholarship was awarded last year to Lucia Ria. And this year's, we haven't heard anything about it yet, but we should know in a couple weeks for this year's winner. PCT's old trolley line conservation area will be included in Arcadia's revamped maps, which is good, you know, getting known here. Land acknowledgement statement. So everyone, every organization that is supposedly going on board with this thing, and what it does, it acknowledges that these local lands were once owned by indigenous peoples. Well, that's all well and good, you know, but words are words, you know. If you don't back them up by actions, they're no good. So what we're doing is, thanks to Rachel, our treasurer, Rachel got a grant for $4,000, and this will include some money for scholarships for at least 2 years for persons of color and indigenous students in the area. So we're hoping this is going to be helpful, at least, and help us make a better statement, just other than words. Properties maintenance, Cherry Street and a couple other streets, Montown Avenue, which border our Brookyard Brook Conservation Area. They have drainage pipes coming into the brook. And over the years, these drainage pipes were eroding, and the embankment around them was eroding. So we worked with the town, and the town came up with a grant to revamp the drainage system on both of these streets. So we'll have new culverts, and then they're gonna put a check on invasive plants as well, which is a big problem over all our properties. And then they're gonna do some replanting with native species, so we're excited about that. This thing's been eroding for years and years, you know, and it just brings in sediment into the brook all the time. Alrighty, infrastructure and fallen trees. Well, that's a big, heavy project. Kevin, our key maintenance man, Kevin Mulligan, where are you? Stand up. Okay, there you go. He's been working diligently to take care of all the extra fallen trees that have been falling down over the years, especially lately. And of course, our infrastructure, like our stairs and steps and railings and viewing platforms, they're old and they're deteriorating. So he's been working on those also. And we also have a major footbridge at where is it? Harbor Meadows, yeah, conservation area. goes over a gully and a streamlet, and that thing collapsed on us this year, and that was 24 feet long. And what we're trying to do is look into putting in something more permanent, and we're gonna have to make it longer because the embankment there is starting to erode. The stream that went around the embankment finally decided to go underneath the embankment. So we gotta make that 30 feet long. And that's gonna cost somewhere around at least $15,000. So that's no big deal. We're still trying to decide if we want an aluminum platform or bridge or a fiberglass or something like that. So we're still deciding on that. And also we had at the old trolley line, right? Yeah. Old trolley line conservation area off Clapp Street. We had to hire a company, landscaping company, to dig out the trench along the main pathway there. It was getting filled up with water and clogging and being clogged by neighbors dumping their lawn refuse over the years. And that thing would just spill south, so the company had to come in and dig a trench out, retrench it, and put some crushed stone along the pathway because you couldn't even walk over there. It was so muddy. So it's working out pretty well now. But that was a major project, a major expense. And of course we had many work parties over the past year too, and which involved not only board members but volunteers. And we're always looking for volunteers to help us out. Just contact us if you're interested. Land preservation. So Mount Tom North Trailhead project, that's that big project off East Street. And there was just an article in the paper about it in the Gazette last night. It's an accessible trail, at least up to the power line section. And there's going to be a shrub meadow there, or a replanted shrub meadow. And it's, of course, it connects to M&M Trail, also known as the New England Scenic Trail. And we're kind of excited about that. They're supposed to finish up the project this year, sometime this summer. And no doubt they're going to have a ceremony, and we'll probably be involved with that. But just check it out when it's done. It's a pretty interesting thing. Reservation Road, there was a big controversy there. There was a two women who owned 5 acres over there on Reservation Road. They wanted to put 5 new houses in there, a whole housing project, and all the neighbors were up in arms, and the local conservation groups also. So luckily the town was able to get some money, the grant, and plus they used some other town funds to purchase this, and so that's a pretty critical area for wildlife. You know, if you put 5 houses in there, you're going to break up that whole trailway through there. So we're happy that the town was able to do that. Of course, Kestrel helped out on this project, and so did we. Old Quarry. I don't know how many people here are familiar with the old quarry on Mount Tom. It's on the other side of Mount Tom, on Holyoke side. But it's right next to the old Mount Tom ski area, and the owners of the old Mount Tom ski area have proposed to fill in the old quarry, which would have been fine years ago, but over the years that quarry has started to become a wetland. And it's attracted a lot of special species of animals and birds. It's a great nesting spot. The cliffs are a great nesting spot for birds of prey. So we're hopefully that's going to be secured. The state's looking into it. There's a big ownership question there. Who owns that legally? In my opinion, I think the state years ago secured that, and they should be able to hold that. And they just want to keep it in its present state. So we'll see what comes of that. It's in land court right now. And the trust belongs to the Easthampton Land Protection Collaborative. Representatives from not only the trust, but Kestrel, Mass Audubon, the city, and Mass Department of Fish and Game. We have quarterly meetings, and we just discuss ways of saving local open space. It's a good group. And Kestrel Lands Trust got a $500,000 donation, an anonymous donation, for open space, preserve open space, and in Easthampton, and also for low-income housing. And we've been working with Kestrel and the city on this and deciding where those funds are specifically going to go. So that's another good, nice windfall for us. Under miscellaneous, we made up a flow chart, which is a calendar of events and duties over the year, so we don't forget our responsibilities and forget to do something we were supposed to do. We had this problem in the past. New board members, Scott, Mary Lou Dodge, and Caleb. We appreciate, they have been very helpful, they're very knowledgeable people, and they're workers. That's what we need. So I can retire. And we, Garrett Stover, one of our trust members, former board member, has put up together an orientation package for new board members. So when they come on board, they know what to do, and they have a little bit of history behind it. And the trust is working on a policy of diversity and inclusiveness, and we haven't quite finished that yet, but maybe by the end of the year. So that's my report for activities. Now some goals for this year. Fundraising, first of all, we need new ideas for fundraising, so if anybody out there has any new ideas, come forth. It's hard raising money. Plant sales, we're going to have 2 this year. We're going to have one on May 7th at the municipal building parking lot, and the other one is in the fall, September 3rd. And of course, we're trying to sell more memorial benches and give back to the land fundraiser. That's coming up April 22nd, and hopefully we're going to get something done from that. Public relations, newsletter, we'll probably have 2 newsletters this year, hopefully. And I think one we're going to dedicate mostly to the 40th anniversary and our timeline, all the important things that we've done over the years. That's going to be on there in condensed form. And we did a lot. And we're going to continue our high school scholarship award, of course. And 40th anniversary events. One big event we've got coming up is on June 25th at John Bader Park, whoever that guy is. It'll be from 10 o'clock to 11:30. We're going to have some guest speakers. And hopefully, Bob, can you be a guest speaker for us?
Sure.
Yeah, Bob McConnell's from the Compassionate Friends. And he's done a lot of work. He and his wife Nancy have done a lot of work over there over the years around the Angel Monument. And we appreciate all the work he's done. They're great workers. And we're going to install, hopefully we're going to install the Berger Family Memorial Bench at Brickyard Brook Conservation Area. It's going to overlook the Mountain View Farm, beautiful spot. Bill Berger had been our member since the trust was incorporated. He's one of the founding members, and he had a couple of deaths in his family, and he wanted to put in a memorial for them. And it was going to be on close to Arcadia land, but somehow over the years that just fell through, so we finally going to switch it around and move it over to Brickyard Brook. So hopefully this year. Properties maintenance. Continue monitoring the Cherry Street outfall project. Tom Lussenheiser, our board member, is going to be chief monitor for that area. Yeah, okay, and we're still gonna look for a new footbridge for Palmer Meadows, and hopefully we can come up with something pretty soon, because that's a pretty critical artery here. We've had the whole Branch Avenue entrance blocked off right now, because you can't get through there. And we're thinking of revamping the planting bed near the parking lot at John Bader Park. It's looking kind of lackluster, and it really needs a new revamping and new plants. Land preservation, Mount Town North Trailhead project. After completion, we're going to plan an opening ceremony. Continuing Stanton Land Protection quarterly meetings. East-West collaboration. Some of us from the trust met with officials from Eastworks and Kestrel a while back, and with the intention of discussing options for trail connections from the Eastworks to PCT and city-owned space, open space. So we had a good first meeting, and I hopefully something's going to come of this. Continue collaborating with Kestrel and the city regarding the $500,000 donation for open space and affordable housing in Easthampton. And another event we got planned for the 40th anniversary was something going on. We're not specific yet, but something is going to go on, or Park Hill Orchards. Big event there, so we'll keep in touch with people about that. And another thing we're going to do, we'll be having guided tours of our properties. So we've got some big plans, maybe something more. Okay, that's my report. Now what we want to do is have the elections. If I can find everything. Okay, up members are me, Molly, Scott, and Sue. We have a nomination to re-elect these board members from the floor.
I nominate you all stay where we are.
Okay. Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We are still actively looking for more board members, so if anyone's interested or knows anyone, and we're particularly looking for sort of young, energetic. Well, you don't have to be, but that would be a big help.
Yeah.
How many board members are there now currently?
13.
13.
Yeah. 13.
Somewhere around there anyways, yeah.
14, somewhere, yeah.
Okay, so the next thing is an open discussion. If the audience has any questions or suggestions, special business to bring up.
I have a question regarding the Reservation Road project. Question.
Okay.
First of all, who owns and is responsible for the 5 acres? And secondly, was the Reservation Road debacle ever resolved?
Well,
as to its status?
Supposedly the city DPW is going to be involved with that. And you know, if there's going to be a trail, I don't know if there's going to be a trailer or not. It's mostly for a wildlife corridor, so we're not making a big deal out of it. Yeah.
So the town owns the land?
Yeah. Now they do, yeah.
Quick question about why you can't have a dog on the leash on the trolley trail?
Well, the dogs on leashes and dogs running free, that's always a big hullabaloo. Some properties, you know, will take dogs running on a leash. Some properties, even on a leash, it scares the wildlife. It depends on what property it is. So it's a kind of a hard thing to figure out, but you know, it's kind of tricky.
My dog doesn't bark, and he's very disappointed.
But access for trolley line is through Arcadia, right? It's Arcadia property that has the trolley line.
Is access for trolley line through Arcadia?
It's from Clapp Street
Yeah, but is that,
It's actually Arcadia's,
and and Arcadia doesn't allow dogs
Yeah.
on the property, so
Yeah,
to get to the that, you'd have to go through Arcadia.
yeah, we have like a right of way from that Mass Audubon on that, yeah.
Someone talked to us once about that and made a point of saying that even the scent of the dogs and the scent of their dog waste and everything else, that had a major impact on the wildlife also.
Yeah, that's
So
a
even
really
if they
good
were
point.
quiet.
What do you?
Scent of the dog, the scent
Oh, well, yeah, the scent of the dog, yeah.
and the poop.
Well, yeah. Okay, anything else?
I just got a question about the Beta Park, John. Since we've been there for the last 20 years, every summer there seems to be some kind of riffraff, whether it be teenage kids or whether it be adults that don't take seriously what a nice place that is. And I was just wondering if there wasn't something else that we can do. We've been to the police, we've been to the mayor, we've been to the Board of Health, we've asked for the trust to meet with them, to talk to them, we've talked to them, and it's the same thing over and over again. There's trash all over, there's cigarette butts all over, they're defecating on the sides of the hills and leaving toilet paper there and everything. And it just, I've been in several ruckuses with people about being in there. I pulled in one night and it was dark and shined my headlights on the gazebo and waited and finally rolled the window down and said, okay guys, it's after dark, you're not supposed to be here, move along. And I pull away and they'd go right back into the park again. And I was like, is there anything we can do to
Well, if there is,
curb this a little bit?
If there is, we haven't come up with it yet. That's been a sore spot all.
Yeah, but I've talked to you many times. This is the first time I brought it up at a meeting.
Well, the main problem is that the police just don't keep paying enough attention to that area.
Because I've already repainted the gazebo a number of times because there's writing all over it and scribing all over it. I've had other families, tell me that they're going down there picking up trash and rubbish and things, and we go, why don't they put cans there? It's like, well, if they're bringing rubbish in, why can't they take it out? Why do we have to provide something, and then somebody's got to maintain it and everything else? And so I've been hearing all kinds of stuff, and I've been defending it all, and I was just wondering, with this many people, somebody's got some kind of an idea.
How about motion sensor sprinklers?
Well, I put solar lights on top of the gazebo, shine the lights so they shine on the benches. I put arms in the middle of the great big wooden benches, that way they can't lay down and sleep there anymore. And I mean, I've done, I've got signs up that say surveillance cameras in use, that nobody knows where they are, but there isn't any, but they don't know that.
Anytime after dark, sprinklers go on if you walk in that area. We can rig that up. I can't imagine them wanting to hang out there.
That's why I'm asking. I'm just looking for, because I mean, I'm working at the Maple Street School now, so I go by every day at 2:45 and I leave every night at a little after 7. And now they know what my routine is, so they go across the street till I go by, and they go, because they know my truck, and then they go back over again, and they're always just sitting in the gazebo and they're, flicking everything. It's just nip bottles everywhere, beer cans everywhere, cigarette butts everywhere. It's just, it's really discouraging.
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to.
I mean, everybody tells me what a beautiful place it is, but nobody helps take care of it.
We're going to have to, rehash this at our next board meeting and see if we can come up with something, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, all right.
We don't have enough cooperation from the town officials.
Yeah, like I said, we went to the mayor and the Board of Health, and the mayor said go to the Board of Health, the Board of Health said go to the police said go to the Board of Health. It's like, you get run around in circles and...
Yeah.
Okay, I just making a point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's a tough part of having a little park in the center of town.
And it's just too beautiful. It just attracts everybody.
Well, that's what everybody says. It's the nicest place in town.
Even those guys, right?
Yeah.
What you could possibly do is, if there's enough volunteers, the Manhattan Rail Trail does this for the mural area, and we do weeding once a week, and there's a sign up so that one person goes and cleans up that area. And it's just one day a week. If it's done one every week, it's very easy to take care of. It's not going to prevent people. You're not going to change stupid. Stupid's always going to be out there. But if we can get a group going, sign up that says, okay, you take this week, you take this week, or whatever. Once a week, go down there and clean up, and it does get cleaned.
We've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people from that have the blocks there.
Yeah.
Every time we put in a new block, all the families say, oh, we'll come down, and it lasts a few weeks, and then they all disappear again.
But that's it, that's why we have,
John
we have a
knows
sign.
that, yeah, John knows that with every, trail you guys got. Everybody says they'll help, but then when it comes time, 2 people show up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. We'll work on it, I don't know.
Okay, I'll just,
Yeah.
I'll just.
Not guaranteeing anything, but okay, anything else?
The piece of land next to that park. That's that little tiny grassy spot. That's actually town land. Is there any
Town property, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way that acquisition could be made where maybe they could donate that to the park to make it one long thing? Because I'm taking care of it anyways. I'm doing the mowing. I'm doing the cleanup there. We put the trail in. I took the fence down so it'd be an open spot instead of it being a barrier for all the leaves to go up against. I've been taking care of it for years since the boardwalk's been there. I've been taking care of that piece of property. Is there any way that we can talk to them and, make that a piece, or isn't it important enough to worry about?
Yeah.
They might want to let go of it.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, because they don't do anything with it anyway. I take care of it. I'm just another thought. I've been doing it since the boardwalk been there.
Yeah. We'll have to have a meeting with the mayor, I guess.
Okay, just another thought.
Okay.
Do you need to have the treasurer's report approved? Like,
The treasurer's report.
We don't have a treasurer here,
Oh, and I don't have access to it.
and nobody has access to it.
Right, but I can't get on my file. We possibly can.
I'm sorry, I know what you
Exclamation.
But I know, but lowercase made.
Who did she send it to?
I'm on the Zoom.
Yeah, I don't have a.
Well, we shouldn't waste time.
Yeah.
She just posted on the website.
Come on, let's stand up soon.
I'm trying to get on.
Virtual reality. Come on. Let's get real.
We're trying that.
We'll just have to conclude it next year's report. So any other comments before we take a break?
I have a question, think about fundraising. How many people here bought Nashawanek Pond,
Bags.
shopping bags?
Years,
That
lots
they-
of them.
Yeah, I don't know if they would, if we'd be looked on as honing in on something, but that's a great logo. If that was available as a bag, or people are buying it.
That's a very
Thank
good
you.
suggestion.
Thank you, some of the men have not supported that idea. But the women are persevering.
How about baseball bats?
Yeah,
You got it?
Yep. So I can read the PCT Annual Treasurer's Report. 2021 was an improvement from...
They can't hear you. We got a treasury report.
The PCT Annual Treasurer's Report. 2021 was an improvement from 2020 in several ways. We're able to once again resume both our spring and fall plant and raffle sales, and maintenance costs were more in line with a typical year. 21 was also our first year offering memorial and honorary benches and chairs, a drive that brought in over $7,500 in new revenue, which is great. Snapshot of 2021, total revenue was $30,438. Total expenses were $20,082. In 21, we had a $13K net gain with an additional $6K of investment income. The organization continues to maintain a healthy balance sheet with $366,534 in total assets and no liabilities at year end. And that's our report for this,
Okay.
this year.
Thanks, Diane.
Took a little while, apologize.
Do you have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Motion to accept treasurer.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can take a break, a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna, Tom McCarty is gonna give us a great show.
I wasn't to say good afternoon, but to say good evening. Nice to be here. You know, I look at all this electronic stuff today, it drives me crazy. My grandson had to call when I have to go on the computer. A man called me one day and he said, Alex, I've been trying to get you. You're not on eBay, you're not on Facebook, you're not on YouTube, you're not on... I said, no, I'm old-fashioned. Telephone and pen and pencil. That's it. But it's unbelievable. It's nice to be, first of all, nice to be here with a group such as this, because the biggest problem facing wildlife today is loss of habitat. Big problem. In fact, I've got a bird here, a little guy, that's in trouble here in Massachusetts because of loss of habitat. I'll show that bird in a few minutes. And I've been working with raptors all my life. I can still remember when I was a kid, my father used to get me by the ear and say to me, why aren't you outside playing baseball with your friends? Why do you always come home at night covered with mud, up in the woods looking for bullfrogs? And here I am, 82 years old, and I'm still looking for bullfrogs. I've been working with raptors a long time, and I found over the years the problems that occur. Every year it seems to be different. When I first started doing this project, shooting was the big problem. And if you look at the game laws back in the 60s and 70s, raptors were considered vermin. Coopers, hawks, goshawks, greyhound owls. Shoot them, get rid of them. They kill game. Today it's different. All sorts of problems. We got a new thing coming now, bird flu. I had 3 eagles last week. I picked one right up here, Leeds Reservoir. Looks like it's got bird flu. It didn't last very long, but they crippled. It was crippled. And all sorts of problems happening with birds of prey. But the big thing is loss of habitat. You know, I always thought that maybe in this country we'd have some land that we would not develop. You know, every time I go down Route 9 and I look at that developable progress, I can remember I moved to Conway in '69, it was all farms. It's all gone. But I always thought there'd be some land we wouldn't destroy, wouldn't disturb. Too steep, too rocky, too wet, whatever. Not today. Solar panels. We can put them anywhere. They took a hill in Conway. I'm talking about a good-sized hill. And they went in like a scalpel and they just cut the top right off. Right off. Nothing in it, all solar panels. Destroyed the whole thing. So that's a big problem today. You know, and I know we need energy and things like that to survive in this country, but boy, we can get off away from a lot of things we're doing today. We don't have to have all this garbage. I always tell the kids in school, you guys can have thumbs as big as baseball bats when you're my age. It bothers me. But anyway, working with raptors, I I've seen a lot of changes over the years with the birds themselves. You name it, I've seen it. I had a bird over here, right over here in Easthampton, not too long ago. A man called me, he said, I live up the road, and every day I drove by this rag on a barbed wire fence for about 3 days. Saw this rag. Traffic zipping, you might know the road, North Street, I can't remember now. But anyway, cars going by every day. Finally, the guy stopped and went and looked. It was a barred owl. It was hung by its eyeball on the barbed wire fence. So I went down to pick it up. The bird's doing good. Of course, he's blind in that eye, but he's doing good. But it's nice to know today some people are observant. They love the environment, and some people could care less. Care less. So I do a lot of school programs for the kids and let them see the birds up close and personal. I brought this with me. There's a young girl in the 4th grade. She come up to me. I was just ready to start the program. She handed me this. I looked at it. You know, she's just going to say to them, tell me what a bird of prey is. She handed me this. It says, eyes on the side, meant to hide. Some birds are watching for danger. Eyes in the front, meant to hunt. So I still got it. Anyway, I take a lot of birds to the schools. I use birds that are non-releasable and get the kids up close and personal with the particular birds. You know, we talk about climate change a lot. I've got a lot of birds that I've seen now, never saw before, coming into this area. Great gray owls, black vultures are coming into Massachusetts right now. I've got 3 snowy owls there right now that are doing, I've released 1, I got 2 more, so they're doing really, really well. And the thing about me having birds, people always say, what a great hobby. Let me tell you, that phone rings 24/7. I don't care if it's Christmas, New Year's, it rings. And I always say, if you're going to do this type of work, you do it. You just do it. You go out and you do the job. So it's a job that takes all your time and everything. You just have to do it. If it's what you want to do, that's what you have to do. Right now, I've got a big project going on. I had a lot of tree damage this fall. A lot of the hemlock and pine snapped and wrecked a lot of my aviators. So I've got a bunch of people. I was just talking to one of the ladies here a minute ago about some of the characters I got up there. And a couple of them from Audubon. Great guys, but they can't bang a nail straight. So I'm watching them they're up on the rafters and doing the work, and all of a sudden he'd stop. Then he'd start again. They'd stop. Do it again. Finally, I went over to him so I could listen. He'd say, Jim, did you hear that? That was a sapsucker. No, George, it wasn't. It was a hairy woodpecker. Jim, I think you're wrong. I finally said, for God's sake, will you continue banging? They were from Audubon. They were great guys. But anyway, I've got a bunch of different birds to show you today. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you. The only danger today is you may get pooped on. I said to the children in class, I asked them a question. I said, did anyone ever see a great horned owl? One boy like this. So, go ahead. He said, tell me all about this great horned owl. Well, he said, it was sitting in a tree, this and that, this. I said, great. Where did you see it? On the internet. And then my other question I always listen to kids. Tell me the prettiest bird you've ever seen. Peacock, macaws. No, they're all wrong. This is the prettiest bird you'll ever see. Look how pretty you are. My buddy. You know the old expression, a face only a mother could love. This guy is a real character. You know, turkey vultures, they're not very handsome up close. When you see them up in the sky, boy, nothing more majestic than this guy when he decides to fly. But the turkey vulture is very beneficial. It's a scavenger. Therefore, he has a naked head to keep his head clean when he's digging into carrion. His nostrils go completely through, so it doesn't block his good sense of smell. Last week, on Route 116 in Dearborn, I came through. There must have been 50, 60 vultures at a tree on the side of the road. I don't feel it. I don't feel what I'm talking about. But I said, I'll bet you someone's septic tank backed up. And sure enough, the next thing I went by was a bucket load of so they got an incredible sense of smell. But this bird, the species, they're very intelligent. This guy's a real ham. I mean, he knows everything I'm about to do. I can put a piece of meat under a tin can, he'll go over and knock it over and find the food. But he had a problem with one wing. It didn't heal properly, so he couldn't be released back to the wild. You know why turkey vulture's feet are white? It's his droppings. When a turkey vulture is hot, his droppings run down his legs, keeps his body cool. And the only thing about handling the turkey vulture in the crowd, when they get nervous or excited, they throw up.
The rain.
Oh my God.
How old is he?
You know, they're very meticulous about keeping themselves clean, constantly bathing, carrion eaters, constantly sunning themselves to kill parasites or vermin on their feathers. So the birds are very, very meticulous about that. The turkey vulture is a bird that, we used to say the robin was the beginning of spring. Now it's the turkey vulture. You start seeing turkey vultures, spring's here. Robins are here all year now. But boy, I'll tell you, I've handled a lot of birds, but this particular species, intelligent as heck. He's just unbelievable.
Cool. How long have you had him?
What's that?
How long have you had him?
I've had him for about 5 years. I apologize, but he's starting to mate with me. He jumps on my head. He grooms my feathers.
Do you know how old he is? Do you know how old he is?
He's probably 5 or 6 years old. I mean,
Okay.
he's probably about 7 now, 7 or 8. Turkey vulture.
Beautiful.
Good guy. Good guy. Okay. The boxes I used to carry the birds at different locations, I experimented over the years, and I found this the best way to transport a bird. The only problem is I have to be very careful when it's real hot out because they heat up real quick. But if I carry this eagle, for instance, or a wire cage or a cat carrier, something frightened them, they would beat themselves to death when they're trying to get away. So this keeps them totally isolated, keeps them quiet. It also protects the bird and the public. People like to put their fingers in the box, that type of thing. So that helps. This bird here I brought is not a native species in New England, or Massachusetts. I wanted to show you. Come on. A different type of hawk. This is called a Harris hawk. A Harris hawk. And I brought him in just to show you a different type of. He's like a goshawk. You'll notice he's got a long tail, short wings. This enables this bird to go through the canopy of the forest and chase birds and squirrels and things like that. Very alert. And he watches everything. Long legs. This is an interesting bird. They're found in Arizona, New Mexico, in that area. State police about 10 years ago called me. They said, we just made a drug raid in Springfield. We came out of that place with some unusual things. They said, one of them is a bird. I said, what kind of bird? I don't know, you described it. So I went down with the Harris hawk. So someone had it illegally with some snakes and different things. So he's been with me all this time. Incredible bird.
Wow. What do you feed him?
Anything he wants. That's a good point. The birds regurgitate a pellet, so they have to have as natural a diet as possible. If I fed this bird hamburger or chicken meat, which probably would be easier, he'd get sick pretty quick. That pellet that they regurgitate contains feathers, fur, and bone of the animal it ate the night before, and it keeps his stomach clean. Opens his mouth, spits up that pellet, keeps the digestive tract clean. You hear that little grunting sound? That's kind of a, people always ask me, do the birds know you? Absolutely. When you see a stranger, sometimes they go right at you.
They just look around at you, but oh my goodness, look at you. You are beautiful.
Where are they native?
Southwest,
I know.
Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico.
Wow. You think you brought here?
Yeah, someone took it here. I handle a bird of prey when I pick up an injured raptor. You have to be really careful of the feet, because that foot is like a vice grip. And the brain in this bird is about the size of a BB. And when they grab an animal, if that animal kicks and fights and tries to get away, the brain tells them, lock on tighter. And let me tell you, if they grab your hand or your arm, you're in trouble, because they won't let go. And also, if this was a bird that was going to be released back to the wild, he wouldn't be here at this meeting. They kept totally isolated, veterinary attention, feeding, that's it. And when he's ready to release, off he goes. Harris Hawk. I was talking about the avian influenza, bird flu. I got 3 eagles in the last 9 days, all showing symptoms. Now, unfortunately, one of the birds I rescued, big female, she had a big brood patch. She told me she had a nest somewhere, so that nest is gone, destroyed. And the signs of bird flu are the birds are like they're drunk. They just shake, they fall over. But 2 minutes later, you stand up and look at you like nothing's going on. Then they start it all over again. Then the convulsions get worse, and eventually they're almost paralyzed. So when I ran out to Tufts, that came back negative. So the only thing you could think of was poison. You can go down to Walmart right in Northampton. Go in the garden section, you can buy rat and mouse poison right off the counter. And what they don't tell the people, that poison is designed to get that animal out of your house. The mouse eats that poison, it wants water. They get thirsty, they dry out, they get out of the house. Get out of the house, it dies. Now the hawks, the owls, the other predators, they eat that poisoned animal and they have the same symptoms. I've got a great horned owl now. It came in that condition, shakes. It's doing good. Its head is still twisted, but it's doing good. It's getting slow but sure. But it's a long, long process. Now, who do you know all day today? This guy. Hi. I know you're still doing it. Great horned owl. I know what your favorite bird is. I saw you. Want to touch him? The great horned owl, largest New England owl. And boy, let me tell you, talk about a predator. They don't call this bird the tiger of the air for nothing. This guy will tackle anything he can catch. I always say, we can eat anything from a house cat to a cricket. State police called me one day, found in 91. There's a great owl with a broken wing. I said, okay, I'll head down. He said to me, you better wear your old clothes. And he hung up. So what the heck do you mean by that? Well, I got down there, opened the door, wow, was sprayed by a skunk. But if you look at the great horned owl, he's got those interesting tufts of feathers on the top of the head called ear tufts, nothing to do with the hearing. Camouflage. Look at that color. Watch, I put him against my chest, his natural reaction is going to be to flatten himself right against me. Now he'll put his ear tufts straight up in the air, and you probably walk right by and think it's just an old broken branch. Earliest nesting bird in New England is the great horned owl. They've got young right now. Those eyes. This bird had frostbite on both wings. When I rescued him, he weighs about 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds. When I rescued him, he was very, very lean, probably not more than a pound. So I brought him to the vet. The tips of his wings were black from the frostbite. So we had to amputate the tips of both wings.
He would not fly?
He could fly, but he couldn't survive in a while. You notice that black line, the facial disc? That's what the owl can move, just like this. You look at it close, looks like hairs. So he can move the facial disc, just like this, to pick up sound. He's looking at something up there. Great horned owl. They don't build their own nest. They'll take the stick nest of a hawk or another bird of prey, and they'll also nest in a cavity. Or broken off top of a tree, they'll nest on that, or an open rotted log. They'll go inside.
Let's go on my fingers.
I always ask the kids in school, you know how a great horned owl says goodbye? And I'll look at me. Guess how a great horned owl says goodbye? But here's a part of a pellet here. And we'll be done. This little bird, as I mentioned before, he's in trouble. The American Kestrel, named after the Kestrel Land Trust. This is the male. If you look at a kestrel, you can tell the male from the female by the color. Pretty rare in birds of prey. But the male has the blue wings, the female has brown wings. So there's a difference in the coloration on the male and female kestrel. This little guy has the ability to stop in midair like a helicopter. He'll fly along and boom, and he'll do this. And he'll drop down for like 20 feet off the ground, then he'll fold up, go right down, catch a mouse or whatever you're hunting. You notice a lot of the bird houses being put up to entice the kestrel to nest, because as I said before, loss of habitat really devastated this little species. No place to live. You also notice the black in the line. Look at a falcon, they all have the black line. The African cheetah, gazelles, most any bird or animal that runs, flies, swims real fast, all have that black line, just like Tom Brady. Yes.
So Tom, where do they like to live?
Yeah, open farm fields, open meadows.
Where do they nest?
They're cavity nesters also. In their chip.
fly away. I've never seen it.
There's a lot of them around here.
On the other side of the river, there's a lot.
Of the honey pot area?
Yeah, and over by Moody Bridge,
Yeah.
Fort River,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of that stuff.
Oh, over that way?
Yeah.
They like to also mess with old buildings, farm buildings, farm.
Park Hill has it there.
Oh, do they? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if you go over there.
I walk there pretty regularly, yeah.
I shared a real success story. I was just going to say, this is the peregrine falcon. Wow. They're like an athlete, constantly moving, constantly flapping those beautiful wings. Hi, how are you? Real success story. Back in the 60s and 70s and earlier, when we spread toxic DDT on planet Earth, this guy was a monitor. And Rachel Carson, in the famous book, The Silent Spring, she made people aware of the fact we're spreading poison on the earth. This guy is eating that poison by eating the birds that ate the poison. So we spray the crops, birds come along, get infected with the poison, the peregrine comes along, eats that bird, and he gets it. No one eats the peregrine falcon, top of the food chain. So he accumulated that poison in his system, and eventually he started to die off. Even the national bird of this country, the bald eagle, from the water supply, the fish that was infected with the it's good luck. So the bald eagle was struck with that poison. If you look at the bird, built for speed. Built, thank you. You can keep that if you want. Where do I take the eagle out? But anyway, one thing that happened to the peregrine, they used to nest on a lot of the cliffs. We still have them here in Western Mass. But now they're going into the cities. We have them right here at UMass. Some of the bridges along 91 have peregrines nesting. So they made a real good comeback, and they're doing really well. When this bird chases his prey, they've been talking about 200 miles an hour. It's just incredible. This bird's blind in one eye. He flew into a window in downtown Springfield. He lost his sight in one eye. You see that bulge right here? That's his crop. I gave him something to eat before we came here. First year, they're all brown. Second year, they rolled up to that beautiful blue color.
We got it, huh?
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
200 miles an hour, that's fast.
Quick, everything they do is quick. Hey.
So how much force is he exerting?
Quite a bit.
I can
So Tom,
Yes.
how many of the unreleased birds do you have? The ones that you have permanently, how many do you have?
I've got about 15 permanent birds permanently. All the rest, I've got 56 there now, and most of them are ready to be released. I've got quite a few. I average about 175 a year that come in and go out. Put you back in your box.
Getting hit by cars?
Everything, everything. Fences, cars. No, I always, when I talk with a group, when I use it in my program, I always tell people, if you find a young bird or young animal, what do? Most of the kids say, pick it up, take it home. No, you leave it alone, period. Just leave it alone. If it's sick or injured, someone will call the proper authorities, but leave it alone. Because in the springtime, I get so many calls with people like a robin, a bluebird, a blue jay. And I ask the question, what's wrong with it? Oh, it's a little baby. Leave it alone. Learns how to fly, goes from the tree to the ground, nothing wrong with it. It should be left alone. But nevertheless, in the spring, in fact, I had a call last week, a baby great horned owl. They're already fledging great horned owl. Probably great horned owl. Leave it alone. Well, we already took it home. Take it back. Where you found it and leave it. And most people think that the mother or the parents will abandon that bird. Not true. Not true. Birds do not have a good sense of smell, with the exception of the turkey vulture. They do not detect human scent on that bird. If it's a little rabbit or a squirrel, put it back, it's just going to die because they will reject it. But birds, they won't. They'll accept that bird. Okay. This little guy, it's funny. I work with all these birds, and the little guys seem to be the ones that are always a pain in the butt. This guy's no exception. There you go. Anyone know what it is? Saw-whet. Smallest New England owl. I heard a story, I don't know if it's true or not. It said, how did the saw-whet owl get its name? And it said that back in the 1800s, when the loggers were in the forest cutting logs, at night when they went back to the mill in the forest, they would sharpen the saw blades. And they'd hear this little sound up in the forest calling back. So they gave it the name saw-whet owl. So I don't know if it's true or not. But he makes a sound like that. He makes a sound like that. The only way I can describe it, like a school bus backing up. Funny little sound. This guy's a little terror. He will not accept me. I've worked with him for hours and hours. No, he's a little tiger. You might notice the wing right at this side. The left wing was broken, hit the side of a truck, and the wing broke. The bones are so tiny that the vet, Dr. Sam, she said, if I go in there and try to reset that, I'm going to do more damage. Just let it heal on its own. And that's what we did.
Okay. It's like a miniature owl.
What is this prey?
It's prey. A lot of insects and mice, and I'll even take small birds. And this bird is highly migratory. It heads south in the fall, comes back right about this time of year, where most owls stay put.
Here's a broken wing? Here's a broken wing?
Yeah, that one right there. It's healed now, but that's how it healed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I know this is your favorite. I knew it. What do you think? Okay. I brought a golden eagle to show you in a second, but I want to share this with you. I started a project back about 1970, trying to produce bald eagles in a captive environment by using non-releasable eagles. At that time, the bald eagle was endangered. There was just literally none. I had several at my facility that were permanently injured, couldn't be released back to the wild. So I thought if I could pair the birds up, produce some young, release the young back to the wild, pretty rewarding. So I started the project, and I called a lot of the so-called experts in the field, and every one of them said to me, wasting your time. Bald eagles will not breed in a captive environment, especially with a strange mate. Well, I found out after years of playing with bald eagles that I found out they mate for life. But if something happens to one or the other, in about 5 seconds, they got a new mate.
They wait that long, huh?
At least. So anyway, I started pairing the birds up, and believe it or not, it was like playing the dating game. I had, I think, 6 birds or 7 birds. Anyway, I petitioned it. I put the females on one side, the males on the other. And the way to tell the male from the female is by the size. The females are much bigger, the males are smaller. And I watched them, I spent hours watching them. And when I saw a pair that looked like they were pretty compatible, I moved them from that unit into a breeding enclosure. Sure enough, in 1972, I had a pair that started building a nest in their environment, in their enclosure, excuse me. After several days went by, she was incubating. And I watched and watched, and sure enough, I checked the nest and she had an egg. And I thought, just like a farmer who raises chickens, if he pulls that egg from that hen, she'll lay another egg. And if he takes that egg, she'll lay another egg. Why can't it be done with a bald eagle? So I removed one egg, placed it in an incubator. Sure enough, she produced another 2 eggs. So I took that one egg, placed it in an incubator, and I waited every day, candle lit, and sure enough, after a few days, I could see the blood veins inside the egg. So I watched the egg as it grew, and you can see the line right there, that's an air cell. And when the chick gets ready to hatch, he pushes into that air cell, gives him more room to turn around. You ever see what an egg looks like inside? See that? And of course, then it forms a little bump on its beak called an egg tube. Starts the process. Now here's what I had to learn the right way. When that little chick pops out of the egg, and I started feeding it, the first thing that it can see moving around it, it's going to imprint. Its brain is going to say, that's what you are. I didn't want that to happen. So I tried all different things. First one was pretty good. Second, third, fourth egg I hatched over the years. I just designed different things. I came up finally with a puppet similar to this. And I used the puppet, put a piece of food in the bird's bill, and I would put a blanket over me. Every time I told people this, like a reaction. I cut a couple of holes in the front so he wouldn't recognize my features. And I would put my hand in like this. I would feed the chick with that puppet. And boy, let me tell you, like raising a child. Every few hours had to feed the bird. And eventually, when the bird was about 3 weeks old, I decided I'm going to try to foster that eagle into a wild nest. The only nest that we had on the eastern coast was one up at Lake Umbagog in northern New Hampshire, almost on the Canadian border. So once I got the paperwork in order with Fish and Wildlife from New Hampshire, I drove all the way to Lake Umbagog. The climbers were there waiting. We put a band on the bird's leg to identify it. The climber went up, checked the nest, a chick, perfect size. Hauled mine up, placed it in the nest, left. Went across the lake in the boat, we sat and watched. Eagle came in, landed on the nest, started feeding both chicks. So it worked. So I tried different methods. Now what I do is I just take them out when they're fully flighted and release them back to the wild that way. It works out really well. Okay. I want to share a golden eagle. You hear him chirping? Hello. Look at this. It's building a nest. When I take them out of his enclosure to a program, I put newspaper in it to keep it clean. And mix it all up, and there you have it. Oh, heavy. Put you on a diet. You notice the wing? It's a golden. And if you look at the wing under my chin, this bird hit a power line. And luckily some hikers were in the area. And they spotted the bird on the ground. And they called. And when they described the bird, it was a young golden eagle. I assumed the way they were talking, it was a juvenile bald eagle. So when I got up to Athol Garden area, found my way to the high tension line, I couldn't believe it, a golden eagle. They're very rare in New England. And it gets its name from that color in the back of his head. Beautiful gold color. This bird weighs about 10 pounds now. And boy, compared to the bald eagle, this guy's a real predator. They're built for speed, like the peregrine. The feet on them are massive. I mean, that one talon, the dew talon on the back, that's as big as a grizzly claw, a grizzly bear, claw. So they're a very powerful bird. But this guy's a sweetheart. I've had him a long time, and he's just a great bird. We see one or two of them every year coming through on migration, mixed in with the bald eagles. You can see, I was just going to say, he'll stop preening my feathers. What's the old expression? The other woman? This is a man though, so.
Do they nest in New England at all?
No, they don't. They don't nest in New England. They usually nest way up in the Adirondacks, but years ago, they nested down in the Smokies in Tennessee in that area. But they're gone from this area. But like I say, he was a full-fledged bird, but he's still imprinted on him because I spent a lot of time with him. But I mentioned before, he'll preen my shirt and things like that. It's just a sign of, closeness. Good guy.
How much does he weigh?
It's about 12 pounds, though. It's a male. If it was a female, she'd be about 15, a lot more.
So how much does he eat?
Yeah, I think it's pretty mostly quail, and I get a lot of chickens and stuff donated. A lot of the farmers will call me to come in their flock. I get a lot of chickens and stuff. So he's really stuff like that.
You said the females weigh more, is that?
The females.
What they said about the bald eagles too?
Same.
Oh,
yeah. Same. Yeah, if you look at those feathers on the tail, those are the feathers that Native Americans really treasure. In fact, the feathers of raptors are protected by state and federal law. So if you guys are hiking on some of your property and you find a red-tailed hawk feather, you pop it in your hat, the environmental officer comes along, if it's cites you for possession of a protected feather. It's a strict law. So Native Americans, in fact, when I get a bird that has to be euthanized or it dies, they have a place in the state of Washington called the Eagle Repository. You can send the carcasses to them, and they distribute them to Native American people.
What do you do if you find a feather? What are you supposed to do with it?
What's that?
What are you supposed to do if you find a feather?
You can call or just leave it. Yeah. You go down Route 91, you see a lot of red-tailed hawks dead on the side of the road. They like to hunt the edges of the road. It's against the law to pick them up. Yes?
Where do you think the golden eagles are coming from?
Canada.
Okay.
Canada. They're drifting along the East Coast. Talking about Route 91, I was talking to one of the fellows at the DPW, state DPW. He said, most of the red-tailed hawks we see dead on the side of the road, there's always some litter near them. And he said, I think what happens, people are driving along, and they don't think. They're eating a sandwich or an apple, and they say, this is not a can or anything. Fling out the window. Now the mice, the gray squirrels, they all come up. red-tailed hawks learn after a while. Perfect place, they can't hide. They just sit there, that's why you see them sitting in the road. People think they're looking for carrion, they're not. They're waiting for a squirrel to come out and get that piece of garbage. Down they come, and they get in. Lots of them on Route 91 and a Mass.
When you feed the birds, you feed them live animals?
No, I buy them all frozen. There's a place in New York I buy a lot of quail from and things like that. And, it's getting harder and harder today to get food. I used to get a lot of food donated, but I shut off from a lot of different places because a lot of people have, how should I say, the wrong idea. You know, just like I had a problem with animal rights people in Connecticut at a chicken factory where they were taking the day-old chicks and they were sorting them, keeping the hens and destroying the males. So I contacted them and they said to me, "You're welcome to them." I should go on and get 400 or 500 a whack. And once people found out, the guy said, "I don't want to get involved," and just shut me down. What I didn't realize is that they're incinerating them anyway. So a lot of food I get now, it's hard to get the right food. The bald eagles are easy because they eat fish. And the state hatchery saves a lot of fish for me. And I just got a load of fish from the Connecticut River, alewives, starting to come up. And Fish and Wildlife is doing research on them. So I'm always out, looking for food. Any other yes, sir?
There's a story in the Globe this morning. Did you see it about wildlife in Massachusetts proclaiming that we've reached a new golden era in the preservation of wildlife?
That's someone in Boston tooting their horn.
Yeah. I wonder what your reaction to it was.
Whoa.
Okay.
The same as I tell people that tell me, "You're full of garbage." I get more animals around my yard than I've ever seen before. I always tell them, that's because they got no place to go. They're going into the cities. When did you ever think we have a bear in Boston? They're just being pushed. Yep. That's what's happening. Any other questions?
I was noticing you have them very close to your face, and they never...
Well, we never do that with wild bird.
Oh, okay.
The feeder, which you have to really watch for. But I handle these birds. I've got scratched and bit a lot, but the birds I handle all the time, they're pretty docile most of the time. Any other questions? Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.